my laptop up.
Yes. So I would advise you to put yourself on mute until you have a question.
Yep. Yeah, I've done plenty of conference calls, so we'll do.
Awesome. Hope you use Cisco's WebEx. All right, so the broadcast is live, and I will go ahead and make sure that it is posted on the stream before we get started. All right, so we're here today with Scott, Jarvie, Victor, and John has decided to join us, and we are going to talk about fine arts workflow. And as time goes on, we will probably be joined by other people like Billy. Hi, Billy. How are you? Good to see you.
Hi.
And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about each of these 4 areas and give some inputs on what we do for each of these areas. Now, my primary questions will be directed towards Scott and Victor, but Billy, John, or anybody else who joins us, feel free to jump in and put your 2 cents if you have any. Okay. So, all right. So I just threw this together because this is usually what we do when we do fine arts workflow. We go through these 4 steps, not necessarily in the order that you see them. Some of the steps can be done later or earlier, but essentially these are the 4 steps we go through. So first thing is color correction. So how do I define color correction? And then I will let you guys answer and see if you guys do something similar or how do you guys end up doing it. The way we define color correction is that every device which prints has a different color gamut. And your monitor and your images have different color gamut. What that means is that some of the colors that you see on your monitor cannot be reproduced faithfully on the devices that you see. So, so what we do is we actually go ahead and try to, sorry, I'm going to block anybody who is making too much noise. So what we do is we try to go ahead and match the colors for that device to what we're trying to print. And that is what we define as color correction. So my question to you is that do any of you guys do color correction of your images before you send them out to print?
Do I? Well, I color correct my monitor, and then I just I make sure that I really like the colors of the picture. Is that what you mean?
Yes. Well, what about you, Victor?
Yes, of course. Every picture I shoot raw, and every picture I edit and check the colors. Most of my pictures are monochrome, but the color picture I check the colors and try to correct every picture. Yeah.
So Billy, what about you?
Yeah, for color correction, I always make certain that I have the correct, like I have the colors I actually want in the image, like that reflect the mood that I want, and I always make certain that's in the correct color space. So it's like I usually put most of my images up online, and I make certain that it's in sRGB, so the colors aren't going to look muted.
Jay, I think that for me, after just having worked on so many hundreds of thousands of pictures, that I just kind of depend on my own eyes quite a bit, I guess. I have my monitor displaying correct colors with the device, you know, to make sure it's correct colors, and then it's just kind of my personal preference. I like, this looks like correct colors to me. And when I do go back and visit old pictures, I go, wow, what was I thinking? So that's kind of hard, I guess, for someone starting off, because they probably might have the same kind of thing going on that I used to. But now I suppose it's going pretty good because I get complimented on colors frequently.
So do you guys ask for like color profiles from the printers that are printing your images?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then do you do soft proofing in like Photoshop or
yeah,
QImage or some other application?
In Photoshop, my monitor is hardware calibrated, but I find that even with the monitor well calibrated, that the prints don't come out the way that I want them to, and so I do use the ICC profiles.
What about you, Victor?
Yeah, actually, I don't print at home, but in the lab where I print my works for exhibitions and for the example for gifts. And for me, I just know they used in the Macintosh computers and color profiles for the they print to Epson prints, the new big new prints, and use the color profiles.
So if you guys have to send your image to, say, somebody who actually does what you call CYMK printing, like a publisher, for example, that does book publishing, and the color space of CYMK is very severely limited as opposed to, say, an Epson 3800 fine art prints. Do you guys go and look at the color correction and then find out that, hey, the prints look really bad, so you manually adjust the print and then send it to the printers, or do you just go ahead and send it to the printers anyways and let them figure it out? How's your workflow work?
So if no one else wants to answer, I've done some CMYK 4-color full offset printing over the years, and most of the time that I was doing that, I wasn't actually doing the soft proofing with ICC Profiles because I didn't know how to. So I was doing monitor calibration and kind of going off of experience from printing stuff and knowing what would work. And I was also tending to avoid images that I knew would be difficult in full color offset printing. And I think just developed the relationship with a printer over the years where I knew which images would be more difficult and would send them to them and send the original files because I had a pre-press guy that I trusted there and just say, okay, do what you need to do to these images. So kind of a workaround.
See, I'll tell you what we do. We actually get the color profiles like Scott and Victor and you guys are doing, and then we will actually look at the fine art images and say, we'll do soft proofing in Photoshop. And we will actually go ahead and take a look in Photoshop and say exactly how the images look. And let's say we find out that the colors fall outside the range of the printer, we will manually adjust the colors and then send it out to the printers so that the colors that they get fall within the color space of a device. People will say, why would you guys want to ever do that? That's just, but in case of fine art prints, we value the details that you see in the print. And oftentimes when your colors fall outside the space of the device you're printing, the prints will turn out very flat. Would you guys like to see an example?
Sounds good.
So let me show you guys this example. I'm going to share my screen over here. So just a second. Let's see. I will screen share, and go to my desktop. All right. So can you guys see this image?
Yeah.
All right. Now, the colors of this image are fantastic. When people look at it on the monitor, they're like, wow, this is cool. And if I was ever to send this image out to CYMK, this is what happens. So here are the real colors of the image. You can see the light cyan, there's a gradation of greens, and then the cyans come over here. If I were to zoom into this area and say, I want to give this image to a print to somebody who doesn't, who cannot, or a device or a printer who cannot reproduce the colors that you're seeing here, then this is what it'll come out to be. So you can see the difference between, I don't know if you guys can see it on your monitor, is if these are the real colors, and when it's printed,
Yeah, that comes through.
yeah, it comes through and it kind of dulls out that shine that you get on the water. So in the case like this, what we'll do is we will actually go ahead and adjust the color saturation in the places where the colors are changing. And that for us is our workflow. Is we will actually go and soft proof this in Photoshop.
I'll give a little insight because I don't use Photoshop, and therefore I don't ever deal with CMYK. I use Lightroom, which doesn't do CMYK, but it did in its latest edition did add soft proofing, and I play with soft proofing on when they are important prints, like large prints or something to that effect. But for my typical workflow, I avoid doing the soft proofing because it does take a little extra time, because I'm usually putting them online onto like a SmugMug gallery or on Google+. So I might skip that step then, but I will do the soft proofing on a, like I said, a large print.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. Anything that goes into our fine art prints gallery gets soft proofing. Everything else, the soft proofing is ignored. We just kind of turn it into sRGB and put it up.
Yep.
Hey, Jay?
Yeah.
Do you soft proof and actually do a test print before offering something for sale, or do you only do that once someone actually wants to buy it?
So when we have two avenues of selling prints, one through SmugMug, one through our own prints, like Victor was saying, or Billy, you were also mentioning that you do that. When we do our own prints, we will do a small test print real quick. But otherwise, we'll just rely on the soft proofing. And our monitors are calibrated so that our prints match the monitors. So once we see it on the monitors, we know we will get that. And someday I'll have a hangout on how to do that. But that's not the scope of this one. We'll skip that question because it gets into technical details. So I wanted to talk about the next topic, which is a resizing. I'm sure everybody resizes their fine arts prints, which are large prints. First thing is, how do you guys do it? What tools do you use? So again, we'll go with Scott first.
Okay, so you know my tool of choice is Lightroom.
Yeah.
When I used to use Photoshop, I think that was a little bit better. But then again, I was using, back in Photoshop days, I was using very limited megapixel cameras, so more upsizing was needed. Nowadays, with like a D800 and 36 megapixels, I don't really have to upsize quite as often. But if I do, I'm just putting in on the export portion of Lightroom the size that I would like it to be, like in inches more often, because they're ordering like, a 30 by 40.
Correct.
When I did my 30 by 40s, I put in, make this 40 inches long. And I was just basically, I guess, crossing my fingers that Lightroom would do a good job. And luckily it did, because it came out fine.
Yeah, but if you're upsizing it, like, say, 150%, which is like a little bit, it's Lightroom, Photoshop, they all kind of look the same.
Okay.
But you're right about that. But one thing I'm curious about to find out from you is, do you upsize when you do a print. So for example, if you're doing 30 by 40 print, you will upsize to 30 by 40. If somebody orders, say, 16 by 24, then you will upsize it to 16 by 24, downsize to 16 by 24, or will you just use the one you're upsized for 30 by 40 and then just downsize that? You know what I'm saying? Is do you upsize for every order you get?
I have upsized for all the stuff that I put up in my gallery, and
but that's only one.
Yeah, and I do it
file,
individually,
right?
because they're going to be cropped differently.
Oh.
I don't know. Tell me what is the right way.
I don't know the right way, but I'll tell you how I do it after you guys tell me what you do, because this is exploration for us. So Victor, what about you?
The same about me. I work in Lightroom, and the export, as usual, the details of my export is full quality. The size, I don't resize the picture. Then I talk about print, okay? And DPI should be 300 DPI. I think it's the best quality, and I agree. I think the Lightroom do the best job to export the file for print.
Now, I believe that if you want to be really technical, like I have the On-When software suite, and they have an upsizer, don't they?
They do. They have a really good upsizer called Perfect Resize.
Yeah. So if I get some big, important orders, you know, I want to go that way. That's kind of like, but that's when it happens, you know.
Yeah. But one thing that I do wanted to find out from Victor is, Victor, you have stuff on Redbubble.
Yeah.
Does people order any kind of size they want from that? Or does every size have individual images?
Yeah, it's the choice of Redbubble's products is limited to a few sizes. It's like medium, small, and large. Large, it's a maximum size. But my experience with the last, for example, last customer that come to Redbubble and asks for the maximum of the print of maximum size. So they asked me for the files. It was a hotel in Australia, so they asked for the original files. Original files, I mean, after export in Lightroom, after my edit. Yeah, so I don't know which correction they make when I upload my files to the system. Okay, but there is some corrections, as I understand.
So, so when they upload your files to the system, you just let them decide how they want to upsize or downsize the files.
Yes, the customer can choose three types of the size. It's the maximum, medium size, and the small, no more.
So when you upload your files, do you upsize it, or do you just upload it directly from?
Directly to the system, yeah.
Yeah, so there's no upsizing. Whatever. So if you have 8 megapixel camera, you'll just upsize. You'll upload 8 megapixel file.
No.
Then how do you? What size of file do you upload?
The maximum size, the high quality.
Oh, okay. What about you, John? Since you're two of them.
Yeah, so I'm Photoshop based. I haven't had a lot of cause to upsize tremendously more than maybe 125, 150%, and just do that within Photoshop. I am not real sure what the limits of how much upsizing I can do and still have decent quality. I also am willing to give a little bit on the DPI, with 300 kind of being optimal, but I've printed some stuff at 200, 250, and it's turned out fine. Not huge, kind of mid-sized.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask you, Scott. What DPIs do you send your files for printing?
Most of my printing for customers is going to be done because they're ordering it from SmugMug, and I will just upload the original size file, and for most all of their orders, it's going to be perfectly fine. And the export in Lightroom, to answer your question, is usually defaulted to 240 if I'm not mistaken, though sometimes I'll change it to 300 because I have it in my mind for some reason that that's like the normal, optimal amount, and I don't know if that's true, but 300 is just a nice round number. And so,
yeah, about the I'm sorry, about the 300 or 400. Yes, DPI you said.
Yeah.
Yes, but yes, just try to change it, and don't find any change in the size of the file. So I mean it's maximum 300, no more. You can it not change.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying that it just fixed at 300, and you go more than that, it won't change the file size.
I am sorry, Scott. Okay.
It would change the file size if you also change the total pixel count.
The total
you can
pixel,
have.
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say too. But I think I'm very much like Scott on this. Is we pick a file size, and we use 240 as optimal. But we have a fixed file size that we upload. So we use 180 DPI at 48 inches. And we upload to SmugMug 180 DPI at 48 inches. Now that comes out to be roughly around 8,000 some pixels on the largest size.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we do that is, like Victor said, is a lot of our 40 by 30 prints, or like Scott said, your 40 by 30 prints, when you upload it that size, it comes out to be about 216 DPI. And as you go smaller than that, the DPI just goes up from there.
So I think what happens is I just kind of upload it as the original came from the camera. I don't change the DPI. But if someone goes into that album, which for me is a lot of wedding type pictures, and now I've been doing a lot of series of these temple type pictures, and if they do order a large one, which I consider like 20 by 30 or 30 by 40, then I will. I've got a few days to kind of reprocess it and do exactly probably what you are saying, Jay, which is to either upload it to the size that they need, or kind of just do a really large one, which is no big problem for the printer to downsize it from 30 by 40 to 20 by 30. I'm just often in a crunch for time, so I just worry about those when the large print orders come in.
Yeah, so we only upsize the prints which we classify as fine art prints.
Yeah.
And we don't really upsize anything else. All other files for us just stay in the camera size that they come in.
So I like that idea, and if I put together a gallery of online purchasable fine art type stuff, I think that would be something really smart to do, is to create them at the size that you are going to be the biggest ones, like you said, make it 30 or 40 inch, with the 180 DPI, and which makes it so that they're not too huge of files, I suppose, right?
Yep. And then what happens is that you upload that, and then somebody can order any size they want. If they order a smaller size, they're just going to get a higher.
Up to the 30 by 40, and you'll be safe.
Yep.
Okay.
So, and Victor does the same thing. Now, do you guys pre-sharpen your files before you upload? Let's see. John, you can go first since you're here on my screen as the first one.
It depends on the image. I guess in general I try to avoid it, which may be a mistake. Depends on what the image looks like to me.
And how do you do it? Just use Photoshop or Lightroom?
Yeah, I'm not especially talented at sharpening, so Photoshop, unsharp mask, and just playing with the settings until I like what I see. But I'm more experienced at sharpening for monitor than I am for print, and probably need to learn more about sharpening for print.
What about you, Scott?
I will sharpen in Lightroom. If it's an important print, I will use the sharpening function in Lightroom, but I don't really use the export sharpening per se, because I don't know much about the sharpen on export. So I'll play around with it, but I'm not really sure exactly what it's doing. The sharpen on export in Lightroom is like, it kind of gives you a couple of defaults: sharpen for glossy, sharpen for matte prints, or sharpen for screen, medium, or extra. And you know, I might play with those, but I'm not exactly sure what they're doing. But I do use the visible sharpening section in Lightroom, that together with noise reduction to get this kind of nice amount.
So how do you, I mean, sharpening and noise reduction are sort of opposite to each other, right? In some ways. How do you kind of balance the two out?
Well, that's the key word, is balance, right? My primary concern is actually noise reduction. I don't want too much noise reduction because I don't want it to be too flat, and I want enough so that there's not too much grain. And then I'll put that in there, and then I'll add in a little sharpening, and I'll go, no, it's bringing back too much noise, so a little bit back off on the sharpening. And then I'll take the brush, if it's just not really working for me, I'll take a brush and just do sharpening with the brush in particular areas. For me, a lot of buildings or people, so I'll sharpen is particular areas of the face, and I don't care about the rest of the picture, how sharp, for me it's just about the face or the building, kind of the lines of the building, make sure that they're sharp, and I'm more inclined to sharpen that way.
So you're selectively sharpening your image.
Yes.
So certain areas get more sharpening, others don't get it all. And that's a pretty smart way to do it. What about you, Victor? How do you do sharpening?
I just all what Scott said just about me, and I almost I don't I make sharp only sometimes, not for every image. I always check for noise, and I don't use more than, for example, 30% of noise correction, because it may clean some details from the portraits, for example, or from pictures. And exactly, sometimes I add some sharp. As usual, I make for every picture two versions. One for print and one from web for uploading. I never upload. Yeah. The only one site when I upload for prints, Redbubble, for example, I upload a maximum size of my work. For every sharing system, Flickr and Google Plus and everyone, I upload files with the 72 dpi, no more, and the size maybe 1200 pixel, no more.
Okay.
Okay, I don't use water every kind of my names on the picture. Don't add my water
Watermark.
Watermark. Just don't like it. So I try to prevent prints of my work by this way. In addition, the web version I export in the 75% of quality. Okay, as just by my experience, you can see that on the web, and you can't print it in good quality.
So I do the same thing as you guys do. My sharpening is very similar to Scott's. I selectively sharpen the image, but we don't use brush, we use masks because that's what you're used to. And so we'll select certain sharpening algorithms for edges, but we go slightly beyond. We will actually sharpen textures slightly differently. And then what we'll do is, Scott, we will mask out flat areas without texture. So for example, sky and the clouds in our images will get no sharpening whatsoever, because the noise will be quite prominent if we put sharpening. So a lot of sharpening will be applied to things like leaves, trees, rocks, areas of texture. Water, sky, typically will get no sharpening in our images. So it's kind of interesting how everybody has the workflow pretty consistent. And then the last question I had for all of you guys was upload and sell. Victor, you go first. I know where you're doing it, but let everybody else here, where do you sell your work from?
Again, the answer about upload, if you can say again, just don't understand the question.
You sell it from Redbubble, right?
Yeah, yes, I can explain. I just found this site very useful for me. They free for not like I checked the SmugMug,
right?
The trial version, and still can't decide if I need this kind of. I don't. The Redbubble today, I have from Redbubble what I need for free. I can sell from this site. The one only problem I think with Redbubble that the fact that I'm sorry, I just don't find the right words to explain. Moment. Redbubble is the I'm sorry.
That's okay. No problem.
Give me a few minutes or after Scott.
Okay, I'll go to Scott first. Scott, your print, I know you smell to a SmugMug to your clients, right?
Yeah, and I have selected Bay Photo as being the printer for my picture through SmugMug.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
And I have also selected that there is a print delay, so when someone orders a print, that I have a couple days to review it, and if I decide that I need to kind of touch up that picture or properly upsize it, get it ready for being a large picture, most of my stuff is perfectly ready to be printed. All my stuff's like editing, ready to be printed 5x7, 8x10, even up to 16x20. But if they were larger, then I can re-upload that image for that perfect size. So yeah, I use Bay Photo for that printing, and SmugMug collects the money and gives me 85% of the profit.
Cool.
Meaning 85% of what's the difference between the cost of the print.
Correct. So do you, from your, I remember that we went through some portfolio selection last year. You ever set up some gallery. Do you ever sell your work through galleries or any other means other than?
Yeah, recently a company. There is a series of religious bookstores in Utah, and one of them saw one of my images and really liked it and wanted it in their chain of stores, which is the largest in this area. And they got a hold of their distributor and said, "We like this guy, we want this print, call him." And so this distributor said, "We don't just like this print, we want all of your pictures of temples from all the different ones that you've taken pictures of." And so that is the other way I do it. This distributor, wholesale distributor, has a set of my pictures, and they are actively selling them to all of these hundreds, if not thousands, of bookstores. And whenever they get orders, they make the prints, and they're in charge of all that. And it's just a matter of trust, that I trust that they've been doing this for 20 years and they know how to print pictures, and they're going to do a good job with them. And it's a royalty thing in that case, much lower because it's wholesale. But they still allow me to sell those same pictures retail if I so desire.
Cool. So it's not like an exclusive agreement by any means.
No, but I've chosen to only print on products that they don't do. For instance, thin wraps and metal and metallic, or in sizes that they don't do. So I'm leaving whatever they want to print. They're going to do that one, and I'm not going to bother. And I'm just going to do the other sizes and the other types of print material.
I see. So
pushing
what about
metallic and metal.
I see. So what about you, John? What is your?
So I don't have an automated online sales system. It's something that I need to get a little more set up, but I don't know that I'll ever go to completely automated. I'm too much of a perfectionist on the printing side, although I know Scott says he has a several-day delay to get things set up, so it's a nice concept. So I'm doing my prints kind of individually offline and through a printer that I use.
I see. Do you guys ever sell your work through local gift shops, or like Scott, you were saying that you sell some, but what about local galleries, like some big name galleries in Utah? I'm sure downtown has some.
Yeah. Can I?
Go
Yes.
ahead, Victor.
Yeah. Okay. I want to finish the. Yes. I find that Redbubble, that again about Redbubble, that in the labs located Australia located. So this is a small problem why, for example, European and American customers have problems because of shipping. It's always because location. And Australia, there is so far, and there is a kind of bigger shipping than usual. Okay, so it's a reason why I'm looking for something like Mamak to reside the location of labs. you know, and about the last question.
About the galleries and do you guys sell any other means?
Yes, I have one company. A few years they sold my works to the hotels and the companies and to galleries. Yeah, and I have my works in the many of hotels. For example, I think hotels, they are good customers. They just looking for art for the rooms and places, and the same with the galleries. But I just find that galleries, local galleries, not looking for photographic art. Just there is some problem with photographic art. They look for artistic, more it's like painting and kind of traditional art more than photographic art.
It's interesting, Victor. I actually have experienced the same issue. We went to a gallery maybe a few years ago, and the gallery owner told us that we don't display photographs ever in our gallery. No. Yeah. And they said they only look for artwork. They don't really care to see the photographs.
You know, I just when I ask it, they just don't want to continue the conversation. You know, it was one simple word. No, we don't do it. Yeah.
So Scott, what about you guys? You and John, have you guys had any experience selling with galleries?
I've never worked on a gallery before, just my own, and had people come in and they would buy pictures and take them from there, but that was directly through me. No, so I haven't really done a third-party gallery before. I haven't had time, haven't looked into it.
John, what about you?
No, there's a Peter Leak gallery down the road, but he's not carrying anything of mine yet.
I'll put in a good word. I'll call Peter Leak and say, yeah, there's something on John in your gallery. So other avenue for sales, and I don't know if anybody has experiences, is local art and craft stores. We know quite a few photographers actually on G+ who actually do that and make quite a lot of money doing it, several $1,000s every year. And all they have to do is just show up maybe once or twice a month to this weekend art show, set up a booth, just sit around, and people will come and buy their stuff. And they actually sell in tens and thousands of dollars worth of stuff. We had one company a few years ago who licensed our work, and every quarter they would sell 150 prints at $200 a piece. And we get a certain percentage of profit. It was kind of measly 25% or something. But we didn't do any work. They printed everything, they sold everything, and then they just gave us a profit for that. And he had about 6 artists that he was saying, so he was making more than $100,000 in a year, going just to the art shows.
Art shows or art and crafts stores?
Art and craft shows.
Okay, I thought you said stores.
No, sorry, art shows. And it's also, they would also show up in places like Home and Garden Show in the local area, and they would set up a booth, and all of these were large canvas prints. And their production cost was pretty low, so they could sell them at $200 a piece because they would actually stretch and print the canvas out themselves. So it was an interesting experience for working with them, and the company kind of went under, and we stopped hearing from them after a while. So
yeah, that's interesting. Not all photographers are really great salespeople. So.
But I just wanted to thank you guys for coming.
Cool.
And if you guys have any other questions you want to discuss, feel free before I call it a day.
So your answer on who you are using to sell online?
So up till now, we were actually going through a print company, or a printer, a local artist actually, a very well-known local artist who would actually do our print. He has a gallery in Cleveland as side business. All he did was he did prints for clients who wanted their own photos printed. And he says he actually makes just as much money doing prints as he does selling artwork. But what we are finding out is we are getting more and more of these orders, like Victor was saying, from hotels. And they want like several prints on canvas. So rather than hand carry these individually, we have decided we were going to set up very similar to what Scott Jarvie has set up with SmugMug. So I just put up my gallery on SmugMug on my site to start selling prints. And we kind of previewed that print, and we also chose Scott Bay Photo after looking at everything that they have. One thing that I am curious about with Bay Photo is, like Victor mentioned, I don't know how the international sales are going to be. We do get orders from overseas. Not very many, but probably a few a year that we'll get inquiries by saying we want to purchase a print from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if Bay Photo is equipped to do that. I don't know if you have any experience, Scott, with.
Yeah, as of March, in March they introduced you can sell in different currencies, so euro and Canadian dollars, and I can't remember exactly the other ones are.
But do you have to,
the British pound, I'm sure, is there, and they have different print companies that are European based, and that's been something that's new. So they have Loxley Color, and yeah, Loxley Color is a UK-based company. I don't know if they've added any other European companies since then, but they do now have something in Europe.
But that's SmugMug who has done it, not Bay Photo.
Yeah, well, they needed a company that was already based in Europe, so it wouldn't be shipping internationally the whole time, you know. Shipping, so it's a different company from Bay Photo, yes.
So the provider is Bay Photo if it's U.S., but then they switch to a different provider if it's in Europe, for example.
Well, you can choose the different printers. So you got Bay Photo or White House Custom Color.
Correct.
If it's United States, or Easy Prints, which is kind of like the one that I think Flickr uses. It's not a professional print lab. And then they have one in Europe called Loxley Color.
So as someone who's currently using White House Custom Color, why did you two pick Bay Photo over White House Custom Color?
Because White House was something that they started in February, and I had been using Bay Photo for the last 3 years, and I have a really good relationship with Bay Photo, so if anything were to happen, I know them. And also because they have a larger selection of items, such as metal prints, that they don't have quite yet on White House.
And for me, choosing Bay Photo, John, was primarily because of recommendations like guys like Scott and Colby and a bunch of other people who just went ahead and said, you know, we've been using Bay Photo for a long time. The quality is good. Up till now, we have previewed every print we sold, and without preview it doesn't go out, so we wanted somebody who could actually produce prints of the quality that we are very used to. That was the reason to select Bay Photo.
Yeah, which is exactly why I chose White House Custom Color. What do you mean by preview every print before it goes out?
Like, when the printer was local, I would actually go down to the printer and look at the print and make sure it's okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd like to have someone down the street.
Yeah, so, but it isn't something we want to do because, like I said, our orders are coming in and we want to just send them out. So we did a test run with paint photo and we really liked the results. Not to say we won't go to whiteout's custom color in future or even some new. So great questions. Anything else anybody have to contribute? Ask.
Let me think.
Favorite media? That was a question on the web. What's your favorite media to print on?
I like metal because it's unique and it seems to work with the very strong colors that my pictures usually have. So. And you don't have to have a frame because it's already kind of like pre-ready for framing or for being hung on the wall.
I see. John, what about you? Favorite media?
Don't have one. Haven't played with the full range yet. And that was actually the question wasn't what was the favorite media, but how do you select the media? For example, I haven't done any metal prints yet, and I'm really curious about what looks good on metal.
I love metal.
Different types of images, I think, probably have different media that work best for them, and that's what I'm still trying to get a handle on. Not what media do I like best, but what media goes with the image.
So we let the media choice be dictated by our clients. And a lot of the designers and people who are bidding for large jobs like to have a flat, non-glossy media. So their choices would be canvas or matte fine arts paper as a media. And the reason I've asked them this, I said, why don't you guys do something like metallic print, which has a great color rendition, just like metal prints are, Scott. And they said that when people look at the photos in the hallway, a lot of times because of the lighting situation, they actually see the reflection. And that distracts from the artwork itself. If you have a non-glossy media, they said they can put the lighting in the room anywhere they want, and the reflection will not be a problem. That was one of the answers that we got. Now, I don't know if that is true for every situation.
Well, yeah. Though my favorite media might be metallic or metal, it's certainly not the most popularly bought.
Correct. Victor, what about you? Any?
I have still not big experience with the different kinds of media. I don't know nothing about something about metal print. And for me, my choice is photographic print and on the semi-gloss paper.
Right.
Because I think it just adds some depth to the works and especially to the monochrome works. And I tried the canvas, and today I don't like to print to canvas. So semi-gloss, it's my choice today.
I see. So Rodney Pike, welcome. People don't know Rodney Pike. Check out his stream. It is just fantastic. Wow. So Rodney, let me ask this. From a fine arts perspective, do you print your work really large?
At the moment, the majority of what I do is delivered digitally. So I seldom print anything. I did one here recently of Paulo Coelho, a Brazilian author, and I just used the semi-gloss paper. I'm intrigued by this stuff. I don't know a whole lot about it, but the reason I came, I wanted to kind of listen and learn what y'all were talking about with the metal and all. I'm interested in knowing more about that. I really don't know much about it.
the best way to do it, Rodney, my recommendation is go to SmugMug, upload one of your photos or something, or just go to Bayphoto and order a print of different media types.
Okay.
And like a 12 by 18 or something, they're reasonably priced. And you will just see the difference. Personally, I actually love the look of metallic paper, especially if you have like if you're shooting directly into the sun, which we often do, and we have these brilliant light rays coming through. The metallic paper just brings out that brilliant light in there, like no other paper would.
And where would you get that? I mean, you can't get that at. Where would you get that kind of paper? Where would you get that done at?
Bayphoto is one of the printers who we know will do metallic paper. So you go into their Bayphoto website and you can upload their images, I think, and you can get it. If you have a pro account at SmugMug, they will actually do it for you as well. There are some local printers in your area, fine art printers, that may be able to do that for you.
Right.
But just order one and take a look, and you'll be surprised at how various things can go.
Nice. Yeah, thanks.
So, all right, so I think we are almost at the end of our conversation, so I just want to thank you guys. I'll put up a recording session. Feel free to use it any which way you like. We don't have rights to this, so since you guys all participated, you guys have equal rights to whatever that is, and let's do another one pretty soon.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night or morning.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye, Victor. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, Rodney. Good to see you in person.
Nice to meet you, Jay. Thanks.
Thank you, friends.